It's an exciting day here at Primetime Local News. I'm speaking with Canadian astronaut Josh Kutrick. Josh, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I want to chat about what you are going to be doing likely in 2025. This is just super exciting. You've been selected to go to the International Space Station for about a 6-month mission. Tell me all about that process and how that worked to get you to be selected for this.
Yeah, so this will be Canada's fourth long-duration exploration mission, as we call it, whereby we're sending a Canadian Space Agency astronaut to this marvelous place, the International Space Station in low Earth orbit. And the idea will be to go there and do science exploration, run the station, fix it, maintain it for a pretty long time, 6 or 7 months. We'll be launching on the Starliner vehicle. That's a new vehicle being developed down here in the United States. It hasn't flown yet. It'll be the first operational flight for that vehicle. And so all in round, I would say it's something that I'm very excited about. The Canadian Space Agency is excited about it. And then you asked a little bit about the preparation. I mean, for me, we've been preparing for this for a long, long time. I was hired in 2017, and I've been training basically ever since then. So it's a long road, but it is really nice to be here now and to have this opportunity ahead of us.
So how do you go through simulations of the space station, and what does it seem like to you? Is it seem a little surreal at this point still, or have you just been laser focused from the beginning?
I've been pretty focused, and you have to be. The space station is immensely complex. It's complicated. It's probably one of the most complex pieces of technology we've ever built, and I mean the big we, humanity. So it takes a real long time to learn it. You know, if you're part of the crew that's living there, you have to understand it fully, all the way down into the depths of its power systems and life support systems, the water systems, all of it. You have to be prepared to deal with all sorts of contingencies. And so if you take the total amount of training that someone might do before a long duration mission, and you were to add it all up, put it back to back, we don't typically do it back to back, but if you did, it would come out to probably be 5 or 6 years. So there's a lot to learn. I live most of the time down here where I am today, Johnson Space Center in Houston. And to your question, this is where we have all of the training teams, thousands of people, systems, simulators, hundreds of simulators here that are designed to simulate different parts of space operations. We have simulators for the vehicles. We have simulators for microgravity. We have the neutral buoyancy facility. We have airplanes. We have entire space station simulators that are real size and very high fidelity. So there's a lot of training takes place over years and years. It's very technical in nature, but it's something we're very passionate about, of course.
Well, in 6 months or 7 months, however long it ends up being, that's a long time to be up there. How do you prepare yourself mentally for, leaving family and friends behind and knowing that you're literally not going to be on the planet for that amount of time?
That's a good question to ask, and I would say that that's an important part of the training. We spend a lot of time talking about the technical training, mission rehearsals, simulations, physical training, but there is an aspect here at NASA with its partners like the Canadian Space Agency that is directly focused on that, and that is trying to assemble teams, crews that can go into space for long periods of time and function in that environment. It's a high risk, high consequence environment where you're with small teams in an environment where you can't leave, of course, and it's very dangerous. The consequence of error is very high. You're completely dependent on each other. And as you mentioned, to add to all of that stress of the environment, yes, you're leaving not only your friends and family behind, but you're leaving the entire planet behind. And that takes a certain amount of preparation. I haven't flown in space yet. I, of course, have many friends and colleagues who have, and they will all tell you that that's one of the more difficult parts in terms of both mission preparation training, but also mission execution. And so we put a lot of focus on it. We have lots of people here designing programs to help us train for that. It's a very deliberate effort. Yeah.
Josh, you spent several years at Four Wing Cold Lake as a fighter pilot. Can you tell me about how that kind of helped prepare you for your time? And I know we have a lot of people from the area that recognize you and know you. So living in small communities like that and doing the fighter pilot training, how does that get you to where you are today?
Yeah, I did spend a lot of time in Cold Lake. I've been very passionate about aviation, all of it, since I was a child. And so I feel very grateful for the chance to have lived in Cold Lake and to have flown the CF-18. I flew it as a fighter pilot all around the world, many years in Cold Lake. I taught on it and I was a test pilot on it. The F-18 to me is kind of like my second home still when I think about that cockpit. I think if you look at those jobs, the jobs of being a fighter pilot, an operational pilot, deploying to conflicts around the world, for sure the job of being a test pilot, there are parallels, specifically and generally, to what we do here in human spaceflight. In the most general terms, it's all about operating, having to excel in, like I said, environments that are risky. I call them high risk, high consequence. They're environments where you can't make a mistake, where you have to be laser focused. But then to go into it a little bit more than that, I mean, both both jobs, being a test pilot in Cold Lake, as an example, or being an astronaut down here with NASA, both jobs involve doing something really challenging. They involve pushing the borders back on technology, expanding the envelope, as we would say in fighter flying. And they involve working with a large team. I mean, as a test pilot or as an astronaut, I'm a very visible representative of that team. I'm the one who gets in the airplane at the end of the day, or the spaceship with this example. But in both cases, we're completely reliant on thousands of people, really, Four Wing Cold Lake or here at Johnson Space Center, who have been working for years and decades to design this technology, test it, get it to a point where it's ready for us to use. And so it's kind of, that's one of the parallels that strikes me, the environment, but also this big team effort to go out and do something very difficult, very challenging. Both jobs, fighter flying, test flying, flying spacecraft, are similar in those respects.
Josh, what do you say to the kids who are watching this interview and think, their main thought is, oh, it's so cool to be an astronaut, but obviously there's a lot of hard work to get there. So if they want to be sitting in that chair that you're sitting in right now, Josh, what do you tell them? Where do they start on their journey to become an astronaut?
I think I tell them two things. Young Canadians, young Albertans, I'd say the first thing is get excited about this, and your future is very bright. It's going to be brighter than mine was. I mean, just right now, 2023, we're talking about my mission, a mission to the International Space Station. We're also talking about Canadian missions to the moon around the same time period, Artemis 2. There's a lot happening. Human spaceflight is growing exponentially right now, and the future is very bright there. It's specifically very bright for Canada, which is something that I'm proud of. I'm proud of our legacy there, and I just can't wait to see what we do with all this as a country in the future. So get excited, but probably more specifically, I'd say, you have to go out and find something, a passion, something that excites you like nothing else, gets you out of bed at 5 in the morning, something that you can sort of follow through your whole life and help you to make decisions in terms of what you want to do, what you want to study. My passion was flying, exploring, but everybody down here who I work with has one of those. They have this thing that's guided them their whole life. They've gone out with it and gotten really, really good at it. They've studied it all over the world. They've become one of the best in the world at their thing. And they had fun doing it because it was a passion. And that's kind of, I think, in general, what we all have in common. So try to find that thing and then go out and get as smart at it as you can and as much experience at it as you can. And the rest will fall into place.
All right, Josh, well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much and good luck with the ongoing training. And hopefully we can chat again with you sometime soon.
Would love to do so. Thanks for your interest.